This evening for you guys is the new insurance law, which started last year. What I thought I'd do is go through the coverages, what's caused the changes and the increase in premium. We can kind of talk through that. What I'd do is start with a brief overview of what are the coverage parts to your policy. Those would include the bodily injury, which is third party. So if you cause an accident, that's money set aside to take care of the other injured party, and therefore does not come out of your pocket. That's something the insurance company takes care of. We also have the medical pay. That is a part of the policy that will pay you guys if you're injured in an accident, your fault or somebody else's fault. We have under and uninsured coverage. That again is protection for you from your own insurance company if you are injured by somebody who does not have insurance or is carrying less coverage than you carry. There's also property damage. That means if you cause an accident, someone's car, building, hazard waste cleanup, all of that is involved in or covered under the property damage. There's also comp and collision for your vehicle, so that if it is in an accident, deer hit, windshield, all of that would be covered under the collision and comprehensive. What happened is prior to the law change, which took effect back in November of last year, 85% of Wisconsin residents had insurance in place, auto insurance. Wisconsin was one of only 2 states that did not mandate insurance. And at this point, since they've done this, made this change, New Hampshire is the only lone holdout that does not require auto insurance. Some of the new changes that came in steps. The first step was back in November of '09. The change was that the under and uninsured coverage went from a minimum of $25,000, $50,000 up to $100,000, $300,000. That was the first change. They also increased the medical pay from a $1,000 minimum up to $10,000. In addition to that, they also rolled that under and uninsured coverage, making it available under your umbrella policy if you wanted to do that. So it could give you more under and uninsured coverage. In addition to that, you're going to see we're focusing a lot on the under and uninsured. They now stack under and uninsured coverage. So if you had $100,000, $300,000 prior to November of last year, that was your limit of coverage under the under and uninsured coverage. With the new law, those coverages are now stacked based on the number of cars you have. And this would be commercial, personal, motorcycle, any road type vehicle. You have 2 cars, using our example, you would now have $200,000, $600,000. 3 cars, you now have $300,000, $900,000. So that's the new law. Question would be, well, why all this emphasis on the under and uninsured? My personal opinion, there was a lot of influence there by the attorneys involved. That gave a way bigger bucket of money to sue towards. So that's a big part of what that was about. Next step, January of 2010, the bodily injury portions of the policy increased in minimums from $25,000, $50,000, $10,000 property up to $50,000 per person, $100,000 per occurrence, and $15,000 for property. Then in June of this year was when the mandatory insurance actually kicked in. So everybody has to have insurance in place. The other thing that happened at that same point is the state of Wisconsin, again, my opinion, decided that it wasn't fair that those who didn't have insurance before were now required to have insurance. So they told insurance companies, you have to take these people who did not have insurance and offer them the ability to go into your preferred book of business. Well, they're not preferred risk, but we have to put them in with a preferred risk people. All of these changes have impacted the premium. Lots more risk for insurance companies, doubling, tripling under and uninsured, now taking into effect the added risk of non-preferred people into our books of business. So all that has taken effect. And really, all of that was to the point of enforcing a mandatory insurance for all drivers. The problem I seem to have found with that, or in my opinion again, is that The enforcement of that law comes down to the actual officer involved. A police officer pulling you over for any other reason will ask you for your registration and proof of insurance. If you don't have that, you have the opportunity to, they're going to give you a ticket, or maybe not. Once you get that ticket, you can then prove to them you had insurance, and they will rip that up. That is certainly an option. And the other part to that is once they pulled you over, if you do not have insurance, they then have the opportunity to give you a ticket for not following the law. Now, according to all the research, that ticket can be anywhere from $0, a warning, all the way up to $500. It will depend on where you're pulled over and who you're pulled over by. Each city, state, county, all has their own ordinances, their own decision on what that ticket will be and how that will process. In addition to that, the follow-through or follow-up on that ticket and whether you got insurance or not is controlled by the police officer. So from all intents and purposes, it's not mandatory insurance. We haven't really changed anything. There is an emphasis for people to talk about it, but there, as far as I can find, no real follow-up or insistence that you get insurance. As an example, in Nevada, when you go to buy your car, you have to prove that you have insurance. You don't have to do that here. In Nevada, you prove that you have insurance, get your car, you continue about your business, all of a sudden you don't pay for your insurance, the insurance company sends out a notice that they're going to cancel you. A letter and notice also goes to the DMV. The DMV then sends a letter out to the insured, says, hey, if you don't pay your auto insurance within the next 2 weeks, $750 fine, done. Let's pretend they didn't send it, they didn't get their payment in. Insurance company sends out another notice that you're going to be canceled. Another notice goes off to the DMV. They say, second notice, you've not paid, now another $750 fine. If you don't pay, we're going to take your, if you don't get your license in place, we're going to take your license away. They're serious about it. I have not found that to be the case here at all. So that really is an overview of the changes that were made, my opinion on why the changes were made, and my opinion on what's really being done with the new law and enforcing. Try to stay within 10 minutes. I know there's a lot, pretty quick. Any questions?
And isn't it true that if I came and I signed up with you and you could give me a card that says I got insurance for a year, I could turn around and cancel that in a week and I would still have my proof of insurance for next year?
Yes. Yep.
So that's got to be fun, huh?
Yep. There's no follow through from that point at all. We do not notify the DMV. Nothing. So you're correct.
Would you say that increases in coverage are something that needs to be updated because of cost? This is what you probably recommend to your people to cover them for anyway?
Yep. We always recommend more liability coverage. It's pretty cheap coverage. It really is, for the bodily injury portion, which is protecting your assets if you injure somebody else. The under and uninsured, basically what you're doing is suing your own insurance company. That's what happens. That money is not available, which we've had that conversation. That money's not available until you have decided to settle with the other insurance company and therefore with your own insurance. So the med pay is immediate dollars paid out for injuries, and that under and uninsured just treated just like the bodily injury as far as getting to a point of stability. Then you'll settle with all insurance companies involved. That one is, I think that's just overkill.